So today we are going to discuss about feeding of lambs and kids from birth to sale. Normally, nutrition represents the largest cost of animal production that represent around 50 to 70% depending upon the species of animal, either monogastric or ruminants. So we need to take care of that efficiently and economically so that cost of production can be reduced and performance can be enhanced. So for feeding, we should know the animals' nutritional requirements. That is, animal requirement during different phases of physiological stages of production, either growth, pregnancy, lactation. So each physiological stage demands different nutrient requirements. Second thing, we should know that what are the feeds available with the farmer, and also we should know the nutrient composition of the feeds available with the farmer. Third thing, how we are going to balance the available feedstuff to meet the animal's requirement. These three things, first one is nutrient requirements, and second is what are the feeds available with the composition, and third thing, how we are going to balance with the locally available material, that too with the minimum cost, so that we can maintain the production with the minimum amount is diverted for the feed. So nutrition should be managed to support optimal health, but also be efficient and economical. Standards are used as a guideline, but it is not a rigid to follow as such. So feeding management may be fine-tuned to reduce the cost and also prevent the animal becoming too fat or too thin. We should maintain the animal depending upon the purpose for which we are rearing. So if you take Indian scenario, depending mainly on grazing system. So, but commercial, as I told, commercial farm is mainly on the intensive system with more of advanced management and feeding. So growing kids and lambs, late gestational ewes and does, and also ewes and does in lactation are high demanding for the nutrition. These are the three phases which require high nutrient to cope up the production. So for these three stages, we need to take care of by properly balancing the nutrition so that the full potential of the animal is being exploited. And also in extreme weather condition like summer and winter season needs supplementation in addition to the grazing, so to maintain the production. So our goal, we need to get a birth weight, good birth weight of 3 to 3.5 kg. This is an average or minimum better birth weight of 3 to 3.5 kg, so that we can achieve a better weaning weight of 12 to 15 kg depending upon the breed and nutrition. So if you achieve this better birth weight and better weaning weight, automatically we'll have a better market weight of 30 to 35 kg. Normally, people will concentrate more on fattening, that is after weaning to marketing. That phase is having comparatively low ADG, comparatively lower FCR than the initial phase. From birth to weaning is having a higher ADG, more than 150 gram per day, and also FCR is comparatively lower than the fattening period. So we need to tap the potential of getting higher birth weight and also higher weaning weight. So these two should be given attention in addition to the fattening, so that we can get a better market weight of 30 to 35 kg around 6 to 8 months of age. So we want to get a better finished body weight for meat production. So we need to target first thing before mating or before breeding, the ewes or does should be in a good nutritional status. That is a body condition score of 2.5 to 3 to get that after weaning the lambs or kids, their body condition will be poor. So we need to condition the ewes and does before breeding. So for that we need to do flushing. So that we need to do extra nutrient supplementation either in the form of concentrate or good pasture or good quality hay. So that is one point. Another point is steaming up. Steaming up is extra nutrient supplementation given during the last trimester of pregnancy to get a better body condition, better body resource to cope up with the lactation, and also to get a better birth weight and better milk production start. And another one is the colostrum feeding. As we all know, colostrum is not only gives antibody, it's also give a good start for the lamb. That to be given at most care, along with the sufficient milk feeding with the creep feed and hay feeding. It should be started around the age of 2 weeks. This is the where we are lagging behind. So creep feed should be started at the age of 10 to 15 days to get a better weaning weight and to support better growth rate along with the milk. So if we get these three, and then we need to finish the animal with a better finisher ration. So coming to the phases of pig or lamb nutrition, there are 4 phases. The initial one is the fetal nutrition. It starts at the conception itself, but the majority of the part, it is in the age of, that is last 30 to 40 days of gestation, that you can say from 90 to 100 days after the 100 days of pregnancy. And then second phase is the neonatal. So shortly after birth, we need to give a clean and a proper amount of colostrum to get a good start. Third is that is pre-weaning, that is from birth to weaning. So we need to manage properly to tap the high ADG potential of the lambs and kids so that we can get a good weaning weight. And then last phase is the growing and finishing, that is post-weaning, that is weaning to market or weaning to breeding. Depending upon the purpose of for which we are rearing, we should do the growing and finishing period, because if we finish with too much of fat, it is also not suitable for some market, and too much fat will negatively impact the reproductive performance. So for the first phase, fetal nutrition in the womb. So lamb and kid nutrition starts actually with the fetal life, fetal nutrition itself. Maternal nutrition, that is during pregnancy, have a major effect on the health, growth, and reproductive performance of the offspring. So we need to take care of the maternal nutrition. So the impact are greater for multiple birth, that is twin triplet bearing animals, than a single young ones bearing animal. So fetal programming effect are more pronounced in adults than the prepubertal animals. So fetal programming is more effective in case of adults because twins and triplets in case of goat is common in pluriparous animal. In some breeds of the sheep, you can also expect twins. So we need to take care of nutrition throughout the pregnancy, but the much care need to be taken during the last trimester of pregnancy. Effective nutrient transfer occurs through placenta and also through the milk. For the milk, so effective nutrient transfer occurs through adult immediately after birth. Growth of placenta rapid during the mid gestation of pregnancy, because placenta act as a transfer of nutrients during the fetal life. 90% of the placental growth occurs by the 90 days of pregnancy. So if we need to get a proper placental transfer of nutrients, so we need to get a better placental growth. So we need to take care of the trimester of pregnancy. Wool follicles also develops during second and third trimester. In case of sheep, wool have a positive effect on the thermoregulation during initial period of the lambs. Majority of the fetal growth, that is around 60 to 80%, that occurs during the last 60 days of the fetal life, from 90 days of pregnancy. Protein starts accumulating in the milk 14 days prior to parturition. To have a protein enriched colostrum, protein starts accumulate 14 days prior to the, what you can say, kidding or lambing. The selenium is one of the most important nutrients that is passes to offspring via placenta and milk. Along with vitamin E and selenium, that plays a major role not only in immunity and also viability and better growth also. Selenium and vitamin E being a major role for both mother and the young ones. Suppose if you feed undernutrition during late pregnancy, that lead to lower birth weight and also associated with lower survival rate and then poor growth rate and poor weaning weight. If you underfeed during the last trimester, it leads to reduced brown fat resource. Brown fat play a major role in the thermoregulation of the initial days after the birth. So to have a better brown fat, we need to take care of during late pregnancy. And so underfeeding leads to lower colostrum and milk yield that lead to poor survival and growth performance of the young ones. This undernutrition leads to poor maternal bond, and also that lead to reduced survival, and also fewer secondary wool follicle, and in case of woolly breeds, less wool in the lambs. So poor nutrition during last trimester also leads to pregnancy toxemia. It will leads to loss of mother and fetus. In order to prevent all these things, we need to take care of the last trimester nutrition very bad. So that too in goats, which bearing twins, triplets, we need to take extra care to have a better birth weight and subsequent better milk production. So multiple bearing does cannot consume enough roughage to meet the requirement of energy because of the uterus occupy a major portion, so rumen capacity is reduced. Usually for this last trimester, either it need to be supplemented with concentrate feeds rich in protein and energy, and also you can supply any good quality hay, that is of legume hay mixed with some good quality grass or cereal hay, because hay is rich in nutrients when compared to the straw. So in Indian continent, people are not giving much importance to hay. So people thinking straw is itself sufficient to meet the nutrient requirement. So we need to give much emphasis for hay. When to start and how much amount to start depends upon the anticipated birth rate, either twins or triplets, or when to feeding or lamping is supposed to happen. Ultrasonography can allow separation of females, that is around 60 days of ultrasonography. You can identify females which are bearing twins and triplets, so that you can group the pregnant animals into those bearing single fetus and those bearing twins and triplets separately, so that you can do fetal programming accordingly, so that you can take care of the twins and triplets during last trimester, so that it can get a better birth weight. As I told earlier, selenium, vitamin E, and calcium are the important nutrients during late gestation. So average quality of hay meets most of the nutrient requirements, but not that poor quality. So protein, calcium should properly there in the diet to meet all the requirement. If feed and body weight are not managed correctly at this stage, you can experience metabolic disorders. If you feed underfed, it leads to metabolic disorder. At the same time, if you overfed also, there is a lambing or feeding difficulty, and also prone to some metabolic disorders. So in order to take care of the last trimester, 1 month of pregnancy, in addition to normal grazing, ewes and those allowed to good quality pasture for 4 to 5 hours per day, or else 10 kg cultivated green fodder, or 400 grams of concentrate mix-up per day, or 800 grams of good quality legume hay per day, to meet out the extra nutrients required for the development of the fetus. Then coming to nutrition of neonates, that is colostrum feeding. Colostrum feeding, there are 3 cues. One is quantity, quality, and the quickness. So quality of the colostrum and quantity of the colostrum, and how quick you are giving the colostrum. Colostrum is, we all know, it is a thick yellowish first milk that is produced only for 24 hours. That is high in nutrients, that provides high energy, that help to newborn to stay warm during the initial days, that specifically during the winter months. It also contains antibody, that is large protein molecules. It is only enter directly into the duodenal cells. It provides immunity against the disease for the initial phase of 40 to 60 days of lambs and kids. So we need to give the colostrum at the earliest possible. At the same time, you should maintain the cleanliness and good hygiene, so that the good amount of colostrum is being suckled to the young ones. Colostrum is also having a laxative effect, and also have vitamin A and vitamin E that promotes digestive and respiratory system development. So colostrum production vary in quantity and quality. So it is better in mature animals rather than the first pregnancy. It is colostrum production is as affected by late gestational nutrition. So females in good body condition score of 2.5 5 to 3 will give you a better colostrum production. Body condition score, subjective measurement, it gives the nutritional status of the animal. So BCS is dealt in the last portion of this presentation. Keep the kidding or lambing females in a location of exact lambing, that is 14 days prior to the birth, so that it should be acclimatized to the particular environment. And also do vaccination in late pregnancy, that is specifically to the enterotoxemia, to have a better immunity during early part of the lambs. So keep dam young ones together in a pen for at least for 2 to 3 days to get a good amount of milk, and preferably for 10 days to have a better maternal bonding. So around 80% of the case of lambs loss occurs during the first 10 days of life. So we need to give extra care during this first 10 days to take care of the loss, as well as to get a good start of lamb and kid. So after 3 days and up to weaning, feed the lambs and kids with the milk 2 to 3 times, depending upon the condition of the farm. Okay, it need to be fed from 3 days to weaning 2 to 3 times. At about 2 weeks of age, the young one should be trained to eat hay and green roughage along with a little amount of creep feed. If the colostrum is not available, so what is the alternative for the colostrum? So you can collect extra colostrum from does and ewes, and also from cows' colostrum, that is Jones disease free colostrum. It need to be collected and preserved. So if you are collecting from bovine sheep, it should be free from bovine progressive pneumonia. If it is goat, it should be free from caprine arthritis and encephalitis, because these two diseases can transfer through the colostrum. So we need to take care of these two if you take any colostrum from this extra colostrum. Best to cool and keep the colostrum in ice cube trays, and 1 to 1.5% propionic acid can be used as a preservative. Colostrum can be stored 1 year under freezing temperature, and refrigerated colostrum should be used within 24 hours. If you use frozen colostrum, it should be thawed in warm water or microwave at low setting. If you use high temperature or high setting, the proteins, that is antibodies, get denatured. So coming to feeding of colostrum is much important. It need to be fed at the earliest possible. If it is in single or twins, it is okay. There is no need of any assistance. It will be able to suckle the colostrum. If it is a triplet, or in case of first pregnancy, we need that lambs or kid may require some assistance need to be for feeding of colostrum. Colostrum should be fed at the rate of 10% of the body weight, that is 100 ml per kg birth weight. Another one important thing is strip the teats to remove possible plaques in the teat, and also clean the teats before feeding to reduce the bacterial load that enters into the aseptic environment of the lambs and kids' GI tract. So this point should be taken care. Strip the teats to remove the possible plaques that is having bacterial load. So clean the strips. So we need to clean the strips 1 or 2 times and ensure that milk is coming from both the teats. So born outside have higher requirements. If an animal is born during winter or some outside the environment, it needs somewhat little bit higher amounts. Timing is crucial, as I told at the earliest, because antibodies are being absorbed at the minimum of at the earliest before 18 hours. After 24 hours, there is no chances of getting absorption of antibody because the intestinal pores are closed. Half of the colostrum should be fed within 4 to 8 hours, and totally 4 feeding of colostrum, that is 10% of the body weight, divided into 4 feedings, that to be in past 24 hours. If you are feeding colostrum from other animals, feed at body temperature. Warm the chilled lamb or give IP injection of that is injection of glucose to prevent chilling and death of the lambs and kids. More susceptible to disease and mortality if colostrum is not provided properly. So if you give deficient amount of colostrum, so you can avoid 20% of the loss of kids and lambs before weaning. You can prevent 20% loss of the total loss. Colostrum feeding is a main factor in preventing the loss of kids and lambs. And consider giving half ml of selenium and vitamin E at second or third day of life, so that it have better immunity and better protection. Consider supplementing liquid preparation containing vitamins, minerals, and protein hydrolysate in case of weak lambs during early part of the life, so that it have better health and growth. Coming to feeding schedule, first 3 days colostrum need to be fed 300 ml, taking the buck weight of 3 kg into 3 feedings, 3 to 4 feedings, and 4 to 14 days the milk fed at the rate of 350 ml, that to divided into 3 feedings. So you can start feeding your pre-feed and good quality hay and little bit of green at the age of 14 days, but the lambs and kids start eating at the age of 8 to 10th day. So we need to use this potential, so that in addition to milk, we need to give some solid supplementation. So 15 to 30th day, same amount of milk, 350 ml, and in 3 feeding, we need to start a pre-feed only for the young ones. And also you can start little good quality hay or some little bit of greens. And 31 to 60 days, 400 ml of milk in 2 feedings, and the pre-feed 100 to 150 gram per day. And green or hay, it is free choice. It is fed ad libitum. So you need to always keep small amount of pre-feed in a clean environment, so that animal will take that feed freshly and ensure that always the pre-feed is available at all times. 61 to 90 days, you can, once the age increases, you can reduce the amount of milk, and that is 61 to 90 days, 200 ml in 2 feedings, and increase the solid supplementation, that is 200 to 250 gram of concentrate, that is pre-feed, and also you can give free choice hay or green grass. And also need to ensure fresh, clean, potable water is available at ad libitum at all times. And you need to provide a mineralized salt lick at the age of, say, around 20 days at maximum of 30 days of age, so that animal can take the minerals, the 2 trace minerals. So if you want to rear land circuit in artificially, so we need to first initially we need to get a adequate colostrum, and then followed by feed good quality species specific milk replacer. If you have a milk replacer that need to be reconstituted, and according to the manufacturer's dilution, it need to be diluted and given to the animal. So if a farmer is having cow milk, it little bit diluted and warmed and given as a replacer for the mother's milk. If it is a remote area, we don't have any access to milk, that case also you can go for ready-made preparation of milk replacer, because every farmer is having a cow milk, so they can use for as a milk replacer in case of twins and triplets, so that you can provide some supplementation of milk. So cow milk can be fed. For lambs, we need to add little bit extra fat, because ewe's milk having higher fat percentage. Start on high quality starter feed early, that is after the 14 days, and access to free fresh clean water and hay at the age of 14 at the end of the 2 weeks. Wean based on body weight and amount of feed consumed. Wean based on weight and amount of feed consumed at less than 8 weeks. So depending upon the animal lamb's weight, and also how much amount of is consumed at the age of 8th week, it depends the age of weaning. If it is consumed enough solid food, so it is attained around 12 kg weight, so you can wean irrespective of the dates. Also vaccinate for overeating disease, that is enterotoxemia, at the age of 8 to 10th week, and also give a booster, so that you can avoid loss of lambs by enterotoxemia. So you need to daily observe young ones for the watching for the robust activity, fullness of bellies. It should not be starved, and any scoring or any pneumonic lesions. Listen for possible wheezing or coughing. It indicates the respiratory tract infection. Separate eaves rising in a single lamb from eaves rising multiple lambs. So feeding accordingly. So we need to group eaves bearing single lamb as separate batch and eaves bearing twin lambs as separate batch, so that we can manage feeding efficiently and grouping it accordingly. So as I told, lambs and kids nibble the feed on the age of 5 to 7 days. It is better to start around 8 to 10th day days of age as little quantity. It is a supplemental to nourish along with the milk and increase the weight gain during the early part of the life in addition to the milk. More nutrients for the rapid growth is satisfied through the pre-feeding or pre-grazing. So you can do either concentrate feeding, or if you have good quality hay, also it can serve the purpose. Up to 6 weeks of age, grain should be cracked before feeding to lambs. So up to 6 weeks, before 6 weeks, you need to do the cracking of grains. After that, you can also do full grain feeding. To control and prevent coccidiosis in young ones, so you can add any anticoccidials like decopinate and lasoleucid. Grazing is also possible if you have a better quality clean pasture. High quality protein is essential in case of pre-feeding because lambs are monogastric, similar to monogastric animal. So rumen is not developed until it takes sufficient amount of solid supplement. So before that, we need to take care of the protein quality. In addition to the quantity, you need to take care of the protein quality. You should have essential amino acids like lysine, methionine rich protein source. So we should have a soybean meal is essential in pre-feeding because it is rich in lysine. Pre-feeding schedule. So this is what I suggested. This is a minimum quantity, 10 to 14 days, that is 10 to 14th day of age. You can give around 10 to 15 gram per head per day so that it starts taking. And then at the 21st day, you can give around 25 gram per head per day. And at the age of 28th day, you can increase further 25 gram to 50 gram. And at the age of 35th day or 5th week, you can increase another 25. Likewise, you can every week you can increase to 25 to higher quantity, 25 gram to higher quantity depending upon the intake, so that at the age of 56th or 60th day, around the age of 2 months, you should take around 150 gram of pre-feed, so that it supports the growth. So depending upon the breed and depending upon the milk availability, and you can do the daily intake, you can increase the quantity of the pre-feed supplementation. So what are the advantages? It is increases the growth performance. Added weight is most economical during this phase because during pre-weaning it's having a higher ADG when compared to post-weaning. So we need to tap this early growth potential, and it also reduces the weaning stress in early weaning, that is around 60 days of weaning. So most of the people go for 60 days weaning rather than 90 days weaning in case of lambs if you do proper pre-feeding, so that the lambs can be weaned around the age of 60 to 70 days age, so that the body condition score is not poor after weaning. If you allow for 90 days lactation, so the body condition score of the dose or ewes will be reduced. So body resource is diverted to milk, so that you need to condition the ewes and dams before further breeding, so that people are doing early weaning. Advantages for twins and triplets on mother with limited milk production. So if mother is with limited milk production and dams and ewes having twins and triplets, that is feeding creep is compulsory, and increase weaning weight. So it is increase the weaning weight considerably. It should be fed in a creep area that is in organized form, a small enclosure that will allow only lambs to creep inside the small enclosure, which is having pre-feed in a feeder and having an intense light, so that it attracts the lambs, encourages the lambs to take this creep. So creep is an area separated from mother. It having a creep gate. It separates high traffic area and light traffic area. That is light traffic area where the lambs and kids are fed with the creep feed. So large enough size for all the lambs, ensure enough feed always. Also feeder space is sufficient for the number of young ones. Feeder length or space 2 inches per individual. Also good quality hay is provided in the hay rack. So either legume hay, it is better to have legume hay, and along with some cereal hay, it is provided in the hay rack, so that it encourages the roughage intake. Preparation, it should have minimum of 20% CP and 80% TDI. It should be of highly palatable, finely ground in small particle size. It should be available fresh and always replaced daily. It should be available fresh. It should not be contaminated with the litter. Don't let feed run out. And the normal preparation for the initial days of lambs and kids, it should be simple corn and soya diet along with the white minerals and salt. Offer free choice hay and fresh water. Fresh, clean water should be available along with the hay. This solid food supplementation, it will stimulate the rumen development earliest, so that rumen will be developed early, so that you can do early weaning. Also, as I told, trace mineral salt lick should be available. It should be hanged at the shoulder level of the animal, that is the lambs and kid. So it's by licking, it supplies trace minerals and salt, reduces the chances of soil and mud eating behavior of the lambs and kids, and improves the growth rate and immunity, as it supplies the major trace minerals. Then, if you want to feed sufficient milk, lactation nutrition should be taken care of. Nutritional requirements continue to climb during early lactation because there is a peak lactation and maintenance of peak lactation. Splitting ewes by number of lambs, kids nursing as a group, so that you can plan the feeding of ewes accordingly. So ewes peaks in her lactation cycle approximately 21 days after lambing. So peak lactation achieves around age of 3 weeks. So mid lactation is 21 to 60 days. Mid lactation is 21 to 60 days. Late lactation is 60 to 90 days. So if you use the peak milk yield that is maintained for 21 to 60 days after lambing, so you need to take care of this peak for 21 days and then up to 60 days to have a better milk production, so that you can supplement with the hay and feed, so that after 60 days you can do early weaning and prepare for the next breeding. Feed 250 to 500 gram of concentrate per animal per day, depending upon the number of lambs nursing and availability of the legume hay, so that it gives nutrients for the secretion of milk. How older kids of lambs are raised? You can reduce the protein to 18% and feed coarser feed particles. You should have an that is coccidiostat to prevent coccidiosis in case of intensive rearing. And also, if you rear high concentrate feeding, so it is better to have ammonium chloride to prevent urinary caliculi. Gradually switch to regular ration that will be fed after the weaning. So if you switch over to any change in the feed, it should be gradual, and it should take around 5 to 10 days gradually, so that animal will acclimatize and rumen will get adapted to the particular feed. Do deworming of lambs and kids for tapeworm infestation in case of grazing condition, so that the tapeworm having a major effect on the weaning lambs. Record lamb weight, the young one weight at birth and 30 days and 60 days, 90 days and at weaning, so that you can have what is the performance of your animal and what is your feed regime, so that you can alter your feed regime or nutrient profile of the feed. So dry matter intake, a key determinant for the growth. For average, dry matter intake is around 3.8 to 4.2% of the body weight on percentage of the body weight is on dry matter. 3.8 to 4.2% of the body weight, depending upon the breed and size. Effective fiber should be of minimum of 10% to maintain the healthy rumen function, and also to maintain minimum of 30% NT for effective fiber degradation to have a microbial protein synthesis. So at the breeding, same requirement in early gestation to late gestation. If the animals is breeding twins, its requirement changes from 1.5 to around 2.5, and then it reach almost similar at the time of parturition, and then early lactation it is in the same, and then for the twin bearing ewes the dry matter requirement is increasing when compared to the single lamb bearing animal. So I have taken a Tellicherry breed. So birth weight of male is around 2.62 and female is around 2.34 kg. So if you take initial, that is up to weaning, it is having around ADG of 175 to 44 gram in case of male. If it is in female, it is 104 gram to around 95 gram per day. So after that, the male have a better ADG when compared to female. So you need to tap the potential of the early growth so that you can have better weaning weight and better morbid weight. So another one thing is the BCS, body condition score. It is followed in commercial farms, that too sheep and goat. So body condition score, it will indirectly indicates the nutritional status of the animal. So it is an excellent tool to manage the nutrition rather than body weight. So there is a direct correlation between the body condition score and ovulation rate and number of lambs born. So this is scoring system has a range of 1 to 5. Extremely thin animal is having a score of 1 and extremely fat animal having a score of 5. Extreme condition results in lower consumption rate and embryonic mortality and weak young ones and more loss of young ones. So targeted BCS. So different reproductive stage, there is a target BCS. So at puberty, the score should be of above 5 and mating score of 2 to 2.5 and leaves during pregnancy, that is mid-pregnancy, mid to late, that is around 2.5 to 3. Most of the time, it should be around 2.5 to 3 and leaves after pasteurization, it is around 2 to 2.5 because of the lactation. The 0.5 score is lost, nutrients lost from the body resource. So BCS post-parturient last is 0.5. So leaves after pasteurization, so 2 to 2.5. So maybe after weaning, maybe in 2 to 2.25, so that you need to plan for conditioning of the eaves and does before further breeding. So how will you assess this BCS? Physical palpation is the best practice to assess the BCS. So goal is to feel the level of fat cover over the vertebrae and ribs and the loin area. But most of the people will use over the vertebrae, that is loin region, that is a lumbar vertebrae. If you see the lumbar vertebrae, there is a dorsal spinous process and lateral transverse process. So in between, you can feel the how sharpness is the dorsal spinal process and transverse process, and how the cover in between these two transverse process and dorsal spinous process. It is a subjective measurement. By experience only, we can perfectly do this body condition score. The gradation of body condition score is normally 0.5. You can also, if you're an experienced person, you can do further gradation to 0.25. It needs some experience. So assess twice a year. If a flock is need to be assessed for body condition score, it should be assessed at breeding and at weaning. These are the two critical stage. So at breeding, if the body condition score is 2, so you need to go for a better flushing. And after weaning, also same. So this is the 5 score from 1 to 5. You can, from poor condition score, you can see the sharp dorsal spinous process and lateral spinous process. So there is a little bit cover of muscle and fat in between these bones. So it should not be too fat and it should not be too thin. So it should be of between 2 to 2.5 to 3, at maximum of 3.5. You should not cross above 4 for the better reproductive performance. So if it is an animal is used for the production of young lambs, so it should be always to have a below 4 score. So if it is a fattening lamb, that also should be of around 4. If it is too much fat, also people won't prefer too much fatty carcass. So as I told earlier, people should concentrate more on hay. Hay, because hay is rich in nutrient than straw. Because hay is a green fodder, it is harvested at proper stage so that it have a proper nutrients and proper dry matter. It is dried in a proper condition. The moisture level of 12 to around 12%, it is stored. It is a green, leafy, and nutrient-rich hay. So it is better for the nutrient-demanding physiological stages. You feed legume hay to meet out the higher requirement of protein compared to cereal or grass hay. Or else you can go for a mixed hay that contains both legume and cereals. So hay feeding, because it is a dry, it is reduce the incidence of loose droppings or diarrhea. You can feed maize, jowar, and other cereal grasses. Also, legumes hay, yes, is rich in protein So you can use groundnut haulms, gram hay. So all the gram hay and groundnut haulms are rich legume in case of sheep and goat. Mixed hay have mixed hay, either it's having both legume and cereals have better nutrient profile than any one type. So in addition to hay, if you have sufficient green fodder that can be preserved as silage and can be fed during the summer months, then introducing the silage, it should be introduced gradually and to the once the rumen is fully developed. So you need to feed the silage only after the development of the rumen. It also acts as a green fodder during the month of summer. So concentrate mixture, we should have a cereal grains of 50 to 55%, and soybean meal, it is rich in lysine, so it should be for creep and grower ration. Altogether, all the oil cake should be around 30 to 35%, and mineral mixture 2%, and salt 1%. Remaining filler materials like cereal bran and neonates as added as a filler material so that it form a proper concentrate. So if you maintain a fiber level in the concentrate mixer, you can use as an PMR type of ration so that it can be maintained for fattening animals. For a ruminant, fodder is essential. That to green fodder, whenever it is available, it needs to be wilted to reduce water content and increase the dry matter so that it reduces the incidence of diarrhea. And tree fodder addition must for goats because goats needs variety of feeds. So we need to add 2-3 fodder so that goats can be relished with more fodders. Legume fodder should be wilted because legume fodder also contains more water and less dry matter. So that legume fodder wilted and then mix it with the hay and it will be chopped and fed to the animal. Mix hay, tree fodder and wilted green fodder for better performance rather than feeding one single type of roughage. Take home message. So people should familiarize with the BCS before breeding season. So the dose and use should be conditioned properly for better breeding and better birth weight and better weaning weight. And we need to take care of late gestation nutrition so that ewes will be in a good body condition score and good birth weight. Sanitary and cleanliness during early life of young ones should be maintained so that we can avoid loss of young ones during the first month of life. So colostrum and milk feeding should be enough so that animal will gain much weight. So we need to take care of not only late gestational nutrition and lactational nutrition and follow pre-feeding and tap your early growth potential and feed based on the purpose for which the animal is reared, either for the meat or for the replacement stock or for further breeding.